What's up? What's up, man?
Got done with the gym.
Oh man. Not today, actually. Tomorrow, man. Tomorrow, not today. It was crazy today.
Okay, good crazy.
Maybe, man, that rain just threw me off today, man. I don't know if you got that rain or not, man, but man, it was crazy. I had to go to a couple different locations. Man, it was something else.
Yeah, I know because last week it said it was gonna be raining all week long, and on the
Mm.
weekend, it's like, yeah, it's gonna be sunshine all week long. And then this morning it's like, yeah, it's gonna be raining from this point to this point. I was actually not too far from your area. Um I was on the south side of Houston, then we had to go up to the north side before coming back into Katy.
Jeez.
Yep.
Yeah. Do you get a company car or
Mileage.
mileage? Okay, that's cool.
Yeah.
That's
So
fine.
yeah, I'm not complaining about it. So, but yeah, no, while I was out there, like it just started coming in. Like it kept pushing the car, and I was like, okay, maybe I should just cancel the appointments and head back just in case a tornado decides to pop up again.
Right? Seriously, man. It's like a weekly occurrence down here for some reason.
I know, some crazy stuff. Uh, so how's the that project of yours coming along?
It's coming along, man. Still trying to put together information. It's kind of getting to the point where I've narrowed down a lot of the stuff that
Yeah,
I want to as far as I can, but there's still more ways that I need to help kind of narrow down the selections more, right? So that's
yeah.
what I'm still trying to come up with, and it's things that go across the different brands and stuff like that. So um, I don't know. Hopefully I can come up with some good ideas.
I mean, that's a good thing. Yeah, because that's I don't think a lot of people realize like how tools, when used effectively, make a huge difference in performance. Because yeah, you could go ahead and just figure everything out by hand, but imagine how much time it takes beforehand, especially when you're talking about hundreds of different, like not just categories, but also equipment that you can mix and match, right? Uh, just the time alone that it cuts down will also equate to a higher conversion rate because it also means that the clients have a better experience. They're getting the information faster, and the salesperson's a lot more confident in what they're talking about, being able to grab everything all at once.
Yeah, I think we live in an era where basically all the information is at your fingertips, right? Literally, in your pocket or however you want to look at it. But
Yeah.
when a customer comes in to talk to you about a complicated sale, they should have some sort of understanding about what they want. And it's your job as the salesperson to be able to narrow down what they're looking for.
Mm.
And I think deliver that in a timely manner. Now, I actually had this conversation with somebody today, and they said, well, like I don't want to give anybody a shopping list to go shop somewhere else. And I said, well, actually, I think that's exactly what you want to give somebody because you're the one providing the information
Yeah.
versus having to go somewhere else and maybe they're not getting the same information, right? And maybe they're not hearing the same thing that you told them. And so if I feel like if you're first to the curb, when it comes to giving them all the information they need, and maybe even more than what they asked for, I think you're at an advantage.
No, yeah, you're right. Because I mean, all right, so we live in the Houston area, right? And we both come from an appliance background. I mean, there's one of the luxury brands in the area. They got a showroom. They don't sell you stuff, but they're going to put the shopping list together for you.
Yeah, right.
Here you go. Boom. Like, I don't know. I never understood why people were so afraid of that. Like, put it together, build good rapport. Because at the end of the day, especially if you don't give them that list that they went in for, if they don't have that good experience with you, they're not going to come back, period. But if they have that good experience with you, and yeah, say they go shop around, but they have a crappy experience somewhere else because they don't want to do that list for them. They don't
Right.
want to take that time to kind of find out what is actually going to be the best fit for the client. Because they, just to your point, right? Customer comes in and they have a preconceived notion of what they want, but they don't really know what they want because they don't know what questions they haven't asked themselves yet. You know?
Right. Yeah, exactly, man. Like I definitely think that, for somebody that is not wanting to take the approach of being all up front and give all the information right away, I feel like those are the people that, unfortunately, they're the ones that are kind of bogging themselves down, and they are, um, I guess it's not effective time management. You know what I mean?
It's not only that, but it's also the flow of the presentation towards the client, right?
Yeah.
Because are you not telling me this stuff because you don't know it? Are you not telling me because you're not comfortable with this stuff? Like, you're losing credibility in my eyes as a client if you can't talk towards it, if you're supposed to be the specialist in it, right? Now, if you tell me up front, like, hey, I'm still new to this, or this isn't my forte, I can try to help you as, as well as I can. But let me just jot down your information. I'll be able to get you in contact with the person that does. I mean, that obviously is a little bit different conversation and context. But if you're
Right.
supposed to be the go-to person, yeah, like, one, especially if you're not getting a lot of foot traffic in the door, which right now that is the word on the street with a lot of different retailers in general, is foot traffic's not there. The foot traffic that is at a lower price point typically, right? Because
Yeah.
they're not trying to separate themselves with that much cash, especially when we're talking about luxury goods like luxury appliances or luxury AV or anything like that, right?
Right.
Uh, and it's funny that you're talking about that tool to me the other day, because it reminded me of a story where, because right now, for those that don't know, I made a little bit of a move towards the kind of like the software IT side of sales. So kind of going that route for a bit. And what you see a lot is you see a lot of old legacy technology being mixed in with cutting edge technology. And it's like, instead of trying to make that digital transition complete, it's like, no, 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 we're still going to stick with this old stuff. But we also need you to figure out this, this brand new stuff. And even though this stuff is like super old from like the 80s,
Right.
right? Maybe not that old, maybe 2000s. I still makes me feel old when I say that. Um, it's the same thing. It's like, you have those people that are stuck in a way that don't want to transition because, yeah, it's going to take time and effort to do it. They do that on the front end. So on the back end, it just becomes a lot easier. So you don't have those hiccups. You don't have those mess ups. All of that's transitioned. And now you don't have to worry about this old tech that isn't relevant anymore, holding your system down and preventing you from fully moving forward. Right? It's like being stuck in an old way of quoting, and instead of trying to use a CRM system to really manage your business, to cut down on the amount of time you have to put on that end.
So I have a couple of examples of what you're talking about, man. Uh, First one being, like you talk about CRM, and like it's like having a CRM but still printing everything out, right? Creating a filing system to where you're like, yeah, I'm going to be doing this and this and this, and yeah, I mean, I know that a lot of CRMs, like if your CRM goes down and you don't have access to it, like it's not on cloud backup, maybe you need to look into a different CRM, but
Yeah.
like it I still see that going on in different businesses. But I think a more broad explanation of what this is like I can see the transition when I used to be in banking of how everybody used to write a check, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, people used to have these things called check cards, right? That when they first came out, they weren't debit cards or whatever we call them now, right? And there was always this misunderstanding of what you know using your debit card as a debit versus credit. Like
Yeah.
it, during that transition, like people were just like, I'm going to stay away from that and go toward and keep using my checks, right? But if we all go to the grocery store now and somebody whips out a checkbook, man, it holds up that line. Right? That's a perfect example of not fully embracing the technology.
Oh yeah.
That's how I picture it. You're just holding everybody else up.
Not only that, but I mean, you leave yourself open to so many vulnerabilities. Like it blew my mind because at first, when I was young and I had a checkbook, I was like, okay, cool. This is how you do it. You're supposed to write a check. All right, cool, whatever. And then when you realize the routing number and the account number to my account is there. So if somebody grabs this, like they can just ACH something out of my account, like no issue. And it's
Exactly.
like, how do you leave yourself open to that?
Well,
Right?
I don't know how exactly people. I mean, like I said, that was the way they did things for a long time. And that's exactly what I would explain to somebody. A debit card is a number that is attached to your account, right?
Mhm.
It is not your account number. It's so easy to cancel a debit card, right? And
Yeah.
get you a new one if there's some, unauthorized activity there. But giving a check to somebody is like basically writing down your social and giving it to them on a piece of paper, right? This, with your driver's license, your address, your
Yeah.
name,
It
signature,
literally has everything.
right, right, right. It's crazy, and that's what I used to equate it to, and help educate people on the new technology and how to embrace it and how to protect yourself. You know what I mean?
Oh yeah. And I get it, right? From like an organizational standpoint, it's going to take time. Time costs money. And then you also have the added expenditure, the transition, the equipment, the software. And when you look at it in that respect, you're looking at it from a brick wall standpoint instead of, you know what, this is a growing pain. We've gotten to this point as an organization where we need to go through this to be able to get to that next step
Right.
in our growth stage. But if we don't do that now, we're going to be limping along, and that's going to be very detrimental, right?
Yeah. Yeah, it's like you're trying to swim with weights. You know what I mean? Like there's
Exactly.
weights along the bottom of the sea or the pool or however you want to look at it. Right? You're sitting there trying to swim, and there's just something that's just holding you back, man. And you're right. You really have to fully embrace something to really get the full benefit of it. Otherwise, you're not gonna be swimming at your full potential.
Oh yeah. And it sucks to see because I mean, even you and I, in the previous company that we were at, like we saw it as well. You
Yeah.
have, something new coming out that can make a big difference to the organization, but you have so much of an old mindset that no, 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 like we don't understand it, so we don't want to figure it out. No,
Right.
right?
Right.
And it creates a detriment. And then when they try to figure out like why aren't the numbers adding up? This group can do so well. Why aren't the numbers adding up? And it's like, well, all the changes you made. Like
Yeah.
you
Right.
you're not trying to keep the foresight. You're not trying to look into the future as to what you could do, where all the rest of the competitors are now eating your lunch.
Yeah.
And you're talking about smaller competitors, not even large competitors. You're talking about small mom and pop chains, right?
Mhm. I
So,
I mean, it, so like we were talking about earlier, man, we're talking about going to the sales process and how to embrace technology and things like that. I mean, one thing is simple, right? I feel like
yep,
when somebody comes in to talk to you, or when you approach a prospect, and you have an appointment with them, they're looking for
yeah,
information, right? If you're not giving them the information that they're looking for, I mean, let's be honest, there's competitors that offer the same solutions that you do, right?
yep,
So if they get it from you, they're going to get it from somebody else. And if they can provide it faster than you can, they're going to be wondering, like, what is taking these guys so long? That
yeah.
has that makes them question the whole process, not just the beginning of the sales process, but fulfillment and after sale support. So
Oh yeah.
that's why I think it's very imperative that you do shorten those processes. You make things more effective, and in that sense, you always have to be in a growth stage.
Oh yeah, because I mean, if you think about it in that respect too, if you can be able to pass that information along faster, instead of spending, and I'll give you an example of another one too in a second, but instead of spending 30, 40 minutes trying to put all this information together on top of the customer interaction, which is probably another 30 to 45 minutes on top of that, you're cutting it down to 5, maybe 10 minutes because you're going to do multiple quotes. All right, boom, 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 boom. It's got the pricing, configuration, promotions, boom, right? Got it to your email. Now I got their email, phone number, contact information. I'm solid. I can now follow up with that person and see how it goes. Because realistically, nowadays it's very rare to have people go shopping multiple locations very, very, in a very short span of time. Because if I need to buy it now,
Hmm.
if you got it, they're gonna buy it.
Right.
You're their first stop, and they probably come to you because of recommendation, because of word of mouth, because of reputation, or something in that respect, right?
Right.
And most of them will tell you, like, you're not the first person, I'm shopping around, so looking around, blah, 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 blah. It's like, all right, cool. As long as I got your contact information, I'll be able to stay in contact and I can follow up with you. But now, if I can shorten that and be able to cut off 20, 30 minutes from that interaction, instead of spending, say, the day with maybe 8 customers, I can now potentially spend it with 15 to 20,
Right.
increasing my opportunity to be able to close something and increasing the potential revenue of the organization.
I mean, I think that hits the nail on the head, man, because not only are you able to focus on more customers, but you're able to focus on the customer experience as well, right? So you're not sitting here on one customer 30, 45 minutes trying to put together whatever it is that they're looking for. Now you're taking that time and you're redistributing it to all the customers that are currently in your prospects, right?
Oh,
And
yeah.
that what's going to put the difference between you and your competitor. Because if they don't have that tool, then you're that one step ahead. You can give them that special treatment that they're looking for, the extra information. You can spend more time on making sure you're taking care of them as a customer and less time putting together, the packages that they're looking for.
Oh, yeah. And like another thing too, when you're talking about reducing that and essentially you're increasing the state of flow of something, right? Even if you were to knock it down by like 5 minutes, it may not seem like a lot, but when you take a look at a larger organization where you're talking about hundreds, if not thousands of employees, that extra 5 minutes of productivity per interaction, that equates to a lot of numbers. That's a lot of opportunity, a lot of potential revenue that is just being left on the table. But it's this refusal by some organizations. And sometimes it's not even the entire organization. It just might be the leadership at certain levels of the organization. It's like, no, we've always done it this way, and this is the only way we're going to do it. Right. And it's like, all right. I mean, there's a lot of people I'd be like, all right, I'll do it your way so that you'll be happy, but I'm also going to do it my way. And then I'm going to dip and bounce, right? To an organization that will allow me to do it that way. Because now, instead of saving that extra 5 minutes, to your point, I'm saving 30, 40 minutes and I'm doing essentially less work in the sense of I don't have to be busy, busy, busy. I can focus on the tasks that are actually going to drive revenue, on the rapport, on the customer relationship, on referrals, on ways to actually bring more in
Yep.
without having to expend so much time and effort, right?
Yeah. Well, you were talking about driving around Houston earlier today, right? So if we're going 10 miles down the road and you catch every single red light, like how much time do you spend at a red light? It feels like we spend 5 minutes at a red light,
Oh,
right?
yeah.
And that's what it's like, right? So if you catch every light going down the road,
Forget
it
about traffic hour too.
yeah, I know. It takes that 10 miles and it turns it into what, an hour long trip, right?
Oh,
But
yeah.
if you were to catch every green light, if you have nothing stopping you, like you were talking about earlier, the flow, you create that flow and you can go from one thing to the next very smoothly. Man, it takes
Mhm.
that hour long trip down to maybe 30 minutes. And to you as the driver, man, you feel like you hit the jackpot. You know what I mean? And that's how you feel as a salesperson when things flow. On
Yeah.
the other, the customer also feels that way as well. Because just like we sit at red lights, if they're having to sit there and kind of look at you trying to put these packages together and you're focusing on giving them what they need, but also trying to give them the attention so they stay interested,
Oh,
like,
yeah. And you know
sometimes,
that's where a lot of people fail, is that time where you're sitting across from me and I'm having to put this together, and it's just
right.
that awkwardness because you're focused on this task. They don't know what's going on. You're not
Hmm.
communicating, right? I always hated seeing that. So I'd have to jump in to try to keep that person like at least enticed.
Right.
Because at the end of the day, that might not be my customer, but that's my damn reputation.
Yeah, exactly,
You know?
man. I mean, it's very impersonal, man. We live in a generation where we rely on technology, and so we rely on technology so much that we're using it to put together what they asked for. But really, you're taking the focus off of them and you're putting it back on technology. And I know it's for them, but
Mhm.
sometimes, if you can't balance those two and still maintain that conversation while you're doing that, and and that's what we're going to talking about is the processes, right? If the
Yeah.
system doesn't support that, then you're sitting here fighting against the system to try and pay attention to your customer, and that's not the way it should be.
And that brings us to the end of today's Obvious Leadership episode. Remember, every great leader starts with one step, and you're already on your way. Small changes lead to significant impact. Until next time, keep leading with purpose, and remember that leadership is the key to unlocking extraordinary results.